Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Yes, you're counting it right. We have seven of us tonight, but we're going to have a really great show. So, before I introduce the crew, though, I want to pay our respects to the folks in Israel and all the things that are going on in the Middle East. What happened with that terrorist attack with Hamas to me is just sad and unfortunate. And I hope that this conflict doesn't go on any longer than it has. So, our hearts stand by
Can't
Israel
do it right
during
now. I
this
told you.
very tough moment. It really is. So,
You have to
I,
wait. You have to let your mommy do it.
yeah. So, our hearts and prayers go to the families and everybody out in Israel. And we're praying for you every single day. So, anybody else, I'll introduce the crew and then we'll get to it. We have a really busy agenda, a lot of people to talk about some of the biggest topics out there. And off to my right, okay, we have Travis Holmes. Welcome back, Travis.
Thank you for having me.
All right, George Eichhorn,
Good to be back, Scott. And guys, looking forward to the show.
Bo,
Always great hanging out with you guys.
Mr. Yu.
Thanks, Scott, for having me on. Great to see you, buddy.
Great to see you as always, man. Coach Bono back on in the big show,
Yes, sir. Great to be here. Thank you, Scott.
and Melfar Jr.
Hey, great to be here.
And Mel's gonna come on tomorrow night on No Limits. We bring on Jennifer Lee Cobb to the broadcast, and we're going to talk about Parkinson's disease. It's a show I really like when Jennifer comes on. And yes, Jeremy Ballrick, prayers for peace in the Middle East, and good evening to you as well. All right, well, we have a really busy agenda. The one that I happened to see firsthand on Saturday. It was a kneel down that wasn't. And well, everybody knows, but if you haven't heard by now, we have Georgia Tech winning 23-20. Miami coach Mario Cristobal, who is 53 years of age, used to coach at Oregon when this situation occurred, admits he made the wrong call with Canes leading 20-17 with 34 seconds left, leading to running back Don Chaney, who fumbled the ball. Georgia Tech took over, get their own 26-yard line, and before you know it, they walked away with a 23-20 win. And Cristobal, had, by the way, was signed to a 10-year contract for $80 million in 2021. His record is 9-8 with the Canes so far. All right, Travis, we'll lead off with you.
I mean, I'm you've had this happen to you before. All right, cool. So you know
Alone.
how to manage the game, right? But the weirdest part about this is not I'm not even mad at you because let's say on the off chance, on the one off that you don't control time management. You're not the person in charge of that. You need better people. Like, I'm not even mad at you, Bo. Who is your support staff? Who is your backup? Who is your guy? Like, like, come on, man. Somebody else in that headset had to be like, hey, you don't have to run a play. Oh, when they hear him call that, call a timeout, do something, run onto the field, tackle somebody. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, come on. We all know math. If we've done this sport at the college level, high school level, etc., we know basic math and we know the right decisions that should be made. And unfortunately, he failed, but his support failed. The player running the ball and then snapping the ball failed. Nobody don't got. This is that common core math. I don't know what to tell you, but that's rough, man.
All right, before I turn over to George, I want to let everybody know at the beginning here that Inside the Pigskin being broadcast around the world, the audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Go through the chat room. That would be great. And hopefully we'll find some future guests as well. Also, send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. And I want to let everybody know right now I am making an announcement. My book is now titled Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, and it will be published by the South Florida Tribune. So now I'm looking for a release date around the first week of November, 7th to 10th, somewhere around there. So I'll get more updates. So my reality of bringing this together is not too far out, and I'll bring more on. All right, George, pick up my thought here about what happened on Saturday over at Hard Rock Stadium.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Inexcusable. You just can't let that happen. There are a lot of people that are, responsible for that, but the head coach takes ultimate responsibility for some play like that, and it shouldn't have happened. And it's a long season, but you're not supposed to lose a game like that. And they still have hopes, obviously, in the rest of the season for going perhaps even to the playoffs. But it's going to be very hard now. I mean, that's a win they had in their back pocket, and they lost it. So I'm disappointed in that, and it really is something that should not have happened. That's all I got.
I want to introduce some new faces in the chat room. Jeremy is a regular contributor, greatly appreciated, but also NFL Reality Check. Good evening to you as well, and obviously Joshua Renner is here, and we thank you very much as well. So, with that said, okay, let's continue on. Bo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I understand that the victory formation is new and people haven't experienced a lot yet, but it's something they probably should have used there rather than running the ball and fumbling, especially with 40 seconds left. But that was loud. Yeah, I mean, it's inexcusable to lose a game that way.
Okay, we'll turn over to Mr. Yu.
This is just muscle flexing at its finest right here. I listened to what Travis was saying, and I was just wondering, is the OC that they got over in Miami the same when it was in Oregon when this happened in 2018? Was it the same OC? What it looks like is that this guy has a history of letting everybody know they're gonna run it down everybody's throat for 60 minutes. Miami, Ohio, they won 38-3, did the same thing. BCU beat them by 41, did the same thing. Beat Temple 41-7, did the same thing. Texas and A&M 48-33, did the same thing. This man's not sorry about this. He's doing it almost every game. So this is not like we shouldn't be doing this. This is not. I don't know why there's more attention on this one now than any other one, but they were winning before. Now they lost. Now there's a whole bunch of eyes on it now. He's been doing this. He's been doing it for the entire season, and apparently as much as 5 years ago. This guy, this is disgraceful. It's just muscle flexing. It's about winning games, right? This is not what he's. I don't know. like George said, this is just it's an embarrassment. Honestly.
All right, Coach Bono, what's your take on this?
Not a whole lot more to add. I think some great points. Again, Mr. Yu, great point. Great research. My first question was either he doesn't know or he's super stubborn, and obviously he has to know. Everybody knows that in that situation, the right thing to do is you take a knee. I mean, there's so many other things that went wrong, but none of that had to happen if you just take a knee. And again, it's been said it's 100% inexcusable. It is 100% the head coach's call. I mean, that's not a difficult situation, where you have to remind guys, hey, we got a timeout, or what you're trying. The game is won. They can't stop the clock anymore. Take a knee. It's it's an excuse. Nothing more.
Well, bear in mind, Georgia Tech didn't have any timeouts left.
Exactly.
None. Right. So, I mean, really? But all right, Mel.
Yeah, these coaches try to, I don't know what it is. They want to try to prove how smart they are or validate their existence by trying to, I don't by overthinking things. I mean, that's just real simple football 101. I mean, when you have the game wrapped up, you just take a knee. That's it. And let's go on and take it to the house and get on out of here and get on the plane or the bus or whatever it is, and let's move on to the next one. To lose that in that fashion, that hurts, and it's I don't know what the lingering effect is going to be for those players down the road, and what's going on in that locker room right now. He's got to be very careful that he doesn't lose the locker room. I mean, these kids worked real hard, not only in the off season but in the summer, but this particular week getting ready for this game. Georgia Tech just lost to Bowling Green last week, and now you lose to Georgia Tech. That's not a very good look. So I'm interested to see what type of lingering effect this might have on this team for the rest of the season.
Well, a few things that I noticed being at the game was number one, Miami didn't jump out on top of their opponent like they had the last four, where they were really the offense was a machine. When you see a game 3-0 at the half, you worry about it. Number one. Number two, I attend a post game press conference, and it's just very uncharacteristic of me for those that know me. I chose not to ask Coach Cristobal anything or the players. I decided to let the rest of my colleagues do it because I was more in a sponge mode to see what was what. First of all, what could these kids really say about losing a game that they had to begin with? And then Coach Cristobal, I just wanted to absorb, and that's exactly what I did. And I think it's one of those things where you learn a lot more just by listening and watching, and we'll find out whether or not they can definitely go out there and rebound this. But Miami did not, it didn't help that Tyler Van Dyke, I believe he threw some interceptions as well. But I don't blame him for this at all either, because the game was won. You had 34 seconds and before long. Now you see the W and now you don't. And that's where Miami is, and we'll see how they respond as they go to Chapel Hill to take on the Tar Heels on Saturday. All right, well, now that we've talked about that, let's talk about the big matchup this weekend with the Detroit Lions taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks, Raymond James Stadium. This game was actually flexed to 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. They'll face Baker Mayfield. I will be up there that weekend anyways, covering the FAU USF game. My alma mater is USF, covering a team that I've worked closely with the last several years, Florida Atlantic. So it's going to be kind of neat to be back, seeing some familiar people, let alone promote my book. So it's one of those things where I'm going to have to keep quiet 2 weeks in a row, although my college ring still stays on my finger, and it's USF. So let's talk about the Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Travis. This is going to be a much more interesting game than most people thought. Many of us expected the Lions to be much better, and certainly thus far they're the class of the division. So what about Tampa and Baker Mayfield? I mean, it walks in for Tom Brady, and you know what? He doesn't have to put up the prettiest stats, but they're winning football games. Travis?
No, I mean the Bucks are doing something that I can just be honest and say I did not expect them to do, and I don't think very many people out there would agree that they had no expectations, zero expectations of this Buccaneer team going into the season with Baker Mayfield leading the way. And nah, man, they have truly taking on the identity of their coach. They have frankly taken on the identity of Baker Mayfield. They are scrappy. They are finding ways to play good defense. They are finding ways to just be solid on third downs. Like, they're not going to blow you away when you look at the actual statistics, when you look at the actual numbers of what they're doing, and they're just finding a way to duct tape and super glue this thing together. And it's working out well for them so far. I will acknowledge that they haven't played, well, let me rephrase, they haven't won a game against any of the heavy hitters in the NFL, but they have. I mean, they played the Eagles tough, right? They lost that game, but nevertheless, they were in that game in the fourth quarter, right? They beat the Bears, they beat the Vikings, and we kind of see what the Vikings are right now. Like, they're one more week from blowing that sucker up, and they beat this. They beat the heck out of out of the Saints. So I'm like, this will be their first true challenge. Meanwhile, you have Detroit, they're truly playing like a top 5, top 6 team in the NFL right now. Detroit's kind of putting this thing together, so it's going to be a really interesting matchup to see where Tampa Bay really is. This early in the season, going against Detroit. I think most of us here probably are going to lean that Detroit way, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Buccaneers find some way to muck this thing up and make it a low-scoring game. We might have a real game in the fourth quarter.
Okay, let me go to the chat room real quick, then I'll turn over to George. Jeremy says Tampa Bay has some injury issues. Both starting cornerbacks are hurt. Rookie defensive tackle Kaliat Cansey are listed doubtful. Of course, plus Mike Evans has a lowering hammy injury. Yeah, well, I mean, you certainly don't want to lose him. All right, George, pick up on that.
Well, I'll pick up on that. All right, Jeremy. Don't forget, Detroit has injuries too. Their secondary is decimated, especially if Branch doesn't play this Sunday. I'm with you 100% on this one. This is a good game, a great game that for them to flex for national television purposes. Uh,
Yep. Yeah, definitely is a good game since they flexed it. That's for sure, George.
yep, good game, and I'm looking forward to big things again from Detroit. I went to the game last Sunday, and it wasn't quite like I expected. I told you they'd win by 35 or 40 points over Carolina, but they got some garbage touchdowns at the end of the game there. Carolina did, but all this to say, it's going to be a good game, Scott. I'm looking forward to it too, and I'm glad you're going back to your old stomping grounds in the Tampa area as well.
Yeah, it was never my intent to cover the Lions and the Buccaneers anyways. I really didn't want to. I figured I'm only good for one anyhow, and then I could spend some time relaxing in that area, catching up with
Sure.
some games for sure.
Great.
But I'll certainly be watching it someplace. All right, Bo, what are your thoughts about the Lions and the Bucks? By the way, a matchup, I should say, when I was going back to school back from 84 to 86, they were in the same division for many years. And I used to go to that game. What actually Wayne Fonts' son Mike Fonts went to the University of South Florida, and we used to go to that game. It was pretty neat to be able to go out there, and now here they are in the same week. But there was never intent that I was going to do the double dip for sure. That would have been too much with everybody. That's I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad this was flexed. This should be a good game. I still have a hard time buying the Bucks. Some of that is that Baker bias that you all know I have, just because you just never know what he's going to bring to any given game, and so I will always stand behind that because it's true. But they're playing great. So I'm looking forward to this game. I do think the Lions beat up on them because, let's be honest, the Bucks haven't really beat anybody yet. They did, beat up on the Saints a little bit, but the Saints have been incredibly inconsistent. So, that's another team where you're just not really sure where they're at yet. But I think the Lions are going to take care of work. It should be interesting probably the first half, and then you'll see that the Lions are a better team.
Okay, well, let's go back to. All right, you know what, Mr. Yu, I'm going to let you not only say what you have to say, but why don't you comment on this here in the chat room? All right, I'll read it to you, Mr. Yu. We just won without Mosley and Branch. Mosley played fewer snaps than Rodgers, but still one more play than Abraham Lincoln. Okay, I'm not sure what the Lincoln reference is, so I must be missing there. Mr. Yu, maybe you could translate this into English. Okay.
But you beat the Panthers.
I can't translate anything.
Right. There you go, Bo. Thank you. I don't care who translates in English. Bo.
I'm not that old, man. I'm old.
Take a crack at it, Mr. Yu.
All right. Yeah. Well, that 3 points is really like mild. I'm expecting a whole lot more than that in this game. I think the Bucks are built around their defense. I know we're hearing on the Baker love from Bo, but the Bucks are built around their defense, and they're not good at playing from behind. I don't think they scored 30 points the whole year, and the Lions have been averaging 31 points. I think they're gonna put a whipping on the Bucks. I'm sorry. I don't think it's gonna be as close as the 3 points are saying. The injury thing is a big concern. I think some of you guys already mentioned it, but there's injuries on both sides. But I think the guys that they need to have in Tampa out there, they're gonna be in some trouble because now you don't have him anymore. So with his hamstring and everything. Yeah, this is going to be a tough challenge. I think the Lions' biggest challenge was week 1 against the Hawks. They kind of played a team that was really strong, and and they kind of got beat around a little bit. The difference was a couple of fumbles and a pick that took them to OT and everything. But yeah, I think the Lions are going to win big in this one.
Okay, Coach.
Yeah, I think the only thing that might be a little bit of a neutralizer is which you've seen it go either way, but the Bucks are coming off a bye week, so that's one advantage. When you talk about the injuries and that sort of thing that the Lions don't have is just that extra time. Then again, some of those guys still might not be back, and at least they're just missing one more game instead of 2 more games. So Outside of that, I'm expecting Detroit should dominate it. I don't dislike the Bucks. I think they're a good team. They're a solid team. But I think that the Lions are, an upper echelon team this year. So I expect to see them win it going away. Uh, Last thing I wanted to, George, when you were talking, you froze up, and it was a really good Mitch McConnell impersonation.
Thank you, Coach.
That's good. I told you, Coach Panel's getting his broadcasting thing down pretty good. Better than we show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he has. He's come a long way, Coach Panel. I got to tell you that. All right, Mel, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I think it'll be, if you look at it, um, I think the Lions have the better defense. I think their offense is a little bit better, and also I think their quarterback is better. Now Baker Mayfield, I like Baker. I like what he did at Oklahoma. I think that he was a very capable quarterback. He won at Oklahoma. I think he he went to a very difficult situation there in Cleveland that was probably going to be difficult for anybody to succeed. And I think we've talked about it before, that a lot of the success of a quarterback depends on where they go to and what state that franchise is in. And that franchise was in disarray when he went there. He had multiple head coaches and multiple offensive coordinators, and that's going to have an effect on your development. And I think we saw that with Baker. He wasn't down there in Carolina that long. He went out to Los Angeles and played pretty well. He had a full off season with Tampa Bay to work with those guys, get the system down. We know he's a smart guy, and it really doesn't surprise me what he's doing. I'm happy for Todd Bowles, obviously, because it's been very difficult for him. With the situation, with the Jets, and now he's getting another opportunity, because if this opportunity doesn't work, I guarantee you there won't be a third opportunity. So I'm rooting for the Bucks, except for two games. Well, not 2 games a year anymore, but obviously except for this game, I'm rooting for the Lions, and I think the Lions will win this game.
Yeah, the only thing I've noticed, and part of my preparation for these shows, is I like to watch national shows around the country to gauge national reaction. And it's a pleasant thing going on these days that the Lions are finally getting national respect with winning. They've always been a punchline for a lot of years, and now it's good to see them being recognized nationally. We'll see if they can continue. I think the Lions should beat Tampa pretty handily as well. But the fact that the game itself has been flexed to 425 says a lot. I mean, think about it. Right now, Tampa is really playing on house money with this game because nobody's expecting him to do anything to begin with, because of what Mel just said. Todd Bowles, you know, coming in for Bruce Arians. Last year was a difficult year, and Dan Campbell is watching his program, thanks to Brad Holmes, start to evolve into a winning culture. So it'll be a very intriguing matchup. I don't know where I'm going to be watching it at, but I'll let you know next week. All right. So
Hey
before
Scott,
last,
if you don't mind, if I can just add one more thing.
sure.
I literally, until Mr. Yu actually said it earlier, talking about the fact that Tampa Bay does not score 30. I never even thought about looking at it, but the only top 15 defense per DVOA that the Lions have played this year was the Chiefs, and they only scored 20. So this is actually going to be the best defense they faced all season, because they're a top
Good
4
point.
team as
Good
far as
point.
defensive DVOA. So this should be an interesting one.
Yeah,
Well,
well, we talked about it before. I mean, he's a defensive, he's a defensive coach, so they play close
exactly.
to the vest, and that's what they want to. It's going to be like Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's the kind of game that Tampa Bay wants it to be. They want it to be a good old fashioned slugfest, and it's going to be low scoring, and the defense is going to are going to determine who wins the football game. And I think this would be good for the Lions, but I think their offense is a little bit more explosive than Tampa Bay's offense.
Good points all the way around. Okay, very good. Glad you mentioned that, Travis. All right, before last night's game versus the Las Vegas Raiders, the Green Bay Packers had won 8 straight versus the franchise. Jordan Love had 3 interceptions. Okay, did you watch that game, Travis? It was an ugly game, and my other half wasn't too happy with it either, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I was disgusted for both teams. And that's the weirdest part about it. Like it was an ugly win, an ugly needed win for Las Vegas, and a terrible loss for Green Bay. And it stinks because when we've been on this show, we've celebrated Jordan Love and the games that he's played, but playing within the offense, doing the essentially doing the bare minimum things that you're just supposed to do as a starting quarterback, like just protecting the ball, making the right adjustments at the line of scrimmage, kind of leaning on the run game, etc. But I mean, all the advanced stats told us he wasn't doing anything special, and kind of just let's wait and see what happens with the rest of the games. And this was one of those games that he kind of just went outside of himself, and that stinks because again, this is an easily winnable game. That if I'm gonna keep it 100, Las Vegas didn't win. It just felt like nobody really wanted to win it. And honestly, it kind of just felt a little bit clunky in that way because neither team truly had an identity as far as trying to actually control the line of scrimmage, actually just running the ball. It was one of those games where I don't think either one of these teams is going to end the season, above 500, and you're just kind of you're playing the game because it's on the schedule, but it stinks, and that's kind of what it came down to. So yeah, Jordan Love had a rough day, and it's going to be his first of a few rough games that he's going to have this season. Because again, I think once you put that on tape, you're going to have to beat those teams playing you in a lot of cover one, and I don't know how he's going to get around that.
Now, the only thing that stood out in that game for me, and I know a lot of you guys can appreciate it, was Max Crosby at his coming out party. I mean, this guy to me is a beast. He really is. I'll be curious in a couple of weeks on Monday Night Football. He handles legs at Penny Sewell. But when I watched Max Crosby play last night, I'm thinking this guy here plays like an old school mentality. I know he's had other issues, alcohol related, that his wife's been behind him, and he's a good story. But, if anybody put himself on the national map, it was Max Crosby. And when you're harassing Jordan Love all day, you're right in his face every other second. But that's no excuse. I think Jordan Love had a tough evening. All right, George, picking up from there.
Yeah, it was a very difficult thing to watch. You're absolutely right, guys. Green Bay, so far, how the mighty have fallen, huh? I mean, even Rodgers last year, they struggled at the end and most of the year. But yeah, that was a more of a pitiful performance. I didn't expect Love to have that kind of breakdown. He wasn't getting good reads. He wasn't finding enough open receivers. And obviously, like you said, he's throwing the interceptions, and you just can't do that if you want to win in this league. You just cannot. You can't afford it. So the jury obviously is still out on Love. We all know that. It's still early, but he's got to step up his game. The coaches got to rally around him. He is their only guy right now, and that being said, it's going to be tough. As far as Vegas goes, I mean, they're another one that's just kind of like middle of the pack kind of team. And they came away with a win there, but they're going to have their hands full when they play Detroit on Monday Night Football when they're coming into Motown in a few Mondays at the end of the month. So it was not the best of Monday night attractions, that's for sure, Scott.
Well, I know one thing. Matt LaFleur is going to have one big coaching job this year. He's had it easy the last few years when you have the talent he had, but you want to talk about a tough coaching job he's having. All right. So pick it up from there, Bo.
Yeah, so remember how they were talking about you could flex a Thursday night game? This feels like it should have been a Thursday night game. It had all of the bad elements of a Thursday night game. It was sloppy, just on both sides of the ball. None of it was great. I mean, the main takeaways from this game was Max Crosby was dominant, and Robert Spillane was doing work. So there were things that you liked out of that game, but for the most part, it was just ugly football overall. So I didn't love it as a Monday night game, but it was a needed win for the Raiders. And to your point, I think both these teams are, a sub 500 team. So, the gameplay was kind of what you thought it'd be.
I mean, it was in my household because my wife, obviously, her connections to the Packers. All right, Mr. Yu.
All right. Yeah, it's hard to add anything on what's been said already. There's a few storylines that came out of it for me. One, first off, golf clap for Devontae Adams. He was in his revenge game. He won 4 receptions for 45 yards. He won in the revenge game against the Packers. So, great for Devontae. Hope he feel better now. I don't know if he does. I think he still wants to get out, and for good reason. Jimmy G, he's always a talk on some of our minds and Bo's Twitter feed about, was he worth the money and stuff like that. Yeah, well, I think we've seen that last night that he's probably not. I don't know what's going on. How is this franchise able to go this long like this and be so in? I mean, everybody in the whole world knows that the defense has been one of the biggest problems. They never fixed it. Carr was there for how many years was Carr playing with them? They never fixed it. And now they got a Jimmy G, somebody who is way more fragile than Carr is, as we've seen from future time, even with his time in the Niners. Don't give him somebody to protect. Like, it's just bad business all the way across the board. Now we hear McDaniels, his name be on the hot seat. He should have been offered a hot seat in somewhere else, back in New England as a water boy a long time ago. This is a shame. I mean, we can sit here and talk about sports all day. We have fun with it. It's good. It's good banter. I know we can't fix people's franchises, but if we can fix somebody's franchise, that's the best project I can think of right now for all of us. What franchise can we fix today? Let's do the Raiders. How can we fix them? They need to be fixed. How do you do it?
Mr. Yu, you've given me an idea. Maybe we should have a new segment. What franchise can we come up with today? Mr. Yu, I want you to do it after we get off the air. Why don't you send me a text message? What franchise can we fix today? And Josh McDaniels, you're right. I mean, I don't know. Hey, listen, I'll throw a couple ideas at you guys. You ready? Before I turn over to Coach Bono? One of our shows we're gonna have 7 on for this one here, because this is going to take all show, is what schools can we bring back to the Pac-12 to rebuild them? What do you guys think of that as an idea? All right, we'll do that one, and then what? This. Oh, exactly. When you give me an oh boy, then you definitely fall into the GMTA. Then great minds think alike. So, all right. So, Mr. Yu, your homework assignment after we get out tonight: what franchise can we fix today? Will be a regular segment on this show, and then we'll have another show going forward with all 7 of us, the lucky 7. Who knows? Maybe if we like this a lot, we'll have 1 or 2 topics.
Every week, though, right?
Everybody can come on for all I care. But what franchise can we? I couldn't even think of that one. I just got done writing a 172-page book. All right, Coach Bono, I know you had a lot to digest there, but everybody have your take on what happened in Sin City.
Well, again, I think Bo said it's a battle of 2 mediocre football teams.
Yeah.
And, that were on prime time. I mean, I still enjoyed watching the game. There's a lot of personal connections there. Bo mentioned 2 of them, Splain and Max Crosby, both, Mid-American Conference products. Both, had to coach against both those guys when I was the head coach of the Chippewas. Splain was a terror at Western Michigan, and Crosby was a terror at Eastern Michigan. But, the bigger problem, and you alluded to it, Scott, is, Matt LaFleur's got a very tough coaching job. He doesn't have a great team. How patient are they going to be with Love? How patient are they going to be with Matt LaFleur as Love continues to develop? I mean, he's a young guy. I think he is ascending, but he's going to have those dips like he did, last night, where he's going to have a bad game. And Green Bay is not one of those places where they tolerate that. The expectations are super, super high. I think the 2 places that are probably the toughest with that regard are, maybe Green Bay and Dallas, because the expectations every single year are so outrageously high, no matter what, and the fan bases are so big. It's I remember coaching in Green Bay. I remember we played Arizona one year, back when they were playing at Arizona State Stadium. And I swear we had as many Packer fans in the stadium as there was Arizona fans. Packer fans travel very, very well because it's hard to get a ticket in Lambeau Field, so just how patient are they going to be with that? Are they going to give them time to rebuild it? Better win something here down the road and make it interesting. Or he could be looking for a job, if not this year, next year for sure.
Well, Coach, let me expand on what you talked about. You make some really good points out there. Number one, I remember watching games at Sun Devil Stadium, and you're right. The transplant power there is a lot. Also, keep in mind that the Milwaukee Brewers do their spring training out in that area, so you have a lot of Wisconsin people. But here's the kicker, Coach. You ready? The Stadium Club Bar in Chandler, Arizona, is the actual sports bar for the Green Bay Packers. So I actually was there a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2020, and I always used to go to a Stadium Club when it was off of Chandler Boulevard, but they had moved it to a different locale. And I'm going to tell you something. They have all kinds of Packer paraphernalia right there. So you are right. You talk about Green Bay Packers West, Chandler, Arizona, and that area is definitely it. And you can rest assured the Chiefs heads come out full force. And even if you go to that sports bar, so I've lived in Arizona too, and I can tell you how many times that I've seen transplant. When I was over, I've never seen a game over at their new stadium, but I used to go to a lot of games at Sun Devil Stadium, and actually that's a beautiful stadium where Arizona State plays because it's located right in the mountains. You can't ask for a much more picturesque site than what you have over there, right, Coach?
Exactly right.
All right, so all right, let's
I
go
could
to a
I
comment.
couldn't imagine what Matt LaFleur would have to do to get fired from Green Bay, though, man. He is a Michigan guy through and through. Like he went to school in Michigan, to college in Saginaw Valley in Western Michigan. Like he coached at Northern Michigan University, where I went to school. And he truly is one of those like Michigan guys, you know, bred and raised. So that'd be a hard one after one rough. He'd have to have a really rough season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but I mean, it's you look at Green Bay's. They've had two quarterbacks in the last 30 years.
Right.
I mean, some of that is a little bit of that's luck, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
I think
true.
they knew exactly how good Aaron Rodgers was going to be. You know, they had hope, but I was there when we drafted Aaron. I mean, nobody thought he was going to be the Aaron Rodgers. You know, you hope every guy's going to be like that, but you just never know.
All right, so let's go to the chat room real quick. Jeremy puts it out there. Vegas normally gives the home team 3 points for the crowd. Lions being a 3-point favorite means they're going to be 6-point favorites technically. All right, let's just continue. We're just gonna post them up there for everybody to read. Jordan Lund got a 7-point quarterback rating from the rain. Okay, well we know about. I'm just posting them up there. Look at them, and we know Crosby's an Eastern Michigan product. And the last thing we're going to go up before we turn over to Mel, I'm not going to bash the Lions too much. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers had a rough year. That's the first one. It's all right. That'll be fine. All right. Mel, go ahead. Take it from there. What you saw last night, Vegas.
Can't hear you, Mal.
You're muted.
There you go. Charlie Chaplin, did he used to do silent movies? I don't know.
I think so.
Because I got news for you. Mel is working on matching up Charlie Chaplin. Kidding with you, Mel.
Can you guys hear me?
There
Yes,
you
sir.
We can hear you, Mel.
All right.
There you go.
My thing is, everybody wants an offensive coach, right? And so now they have one, and this is what you get when you get a guy who is focused on the offensive side of the ball. You don't have a very good defense. Now, Max Crosby's been playing lights out for a long time. I mean, I've watched a couple games playing, and he's a lot to deal with. He's tough to deal with because his motor, he's going to give it 1,000% on each and every play. Right now, I think people over there in Raider Nation are saying Derek Carr doesn't look too bad, and now you understand why Shanahan in San Francisco wanted to get off of Jimmy Garoppolo. Just some of the decisions that he makes, some of the throws that he makes, they put you in a bad situation. And when you turn the ball over 3 times, you're usually turning it over generally in your own territory, and that puts your defense at a disadvantage. So that makes it very tough on your defense. That's why, guys like Todd Bowles and Mike Tomlin, they play very close to the vest. The coach of Tennessee, Vrabel, they play the game a little bit differently because they don't want to put their defense in those types of situations. Offensive coaches don't really care about that. The thing that I was thinking about watching that football game is you look at McDaniel, Miami, and you got Shanahan up there in San Francisco. Miami scored all these points, more points than anybody scored through the first 5 games, in any season. San Francisco's not that far behind as far as points scored, and just looks like everybody's trying to one up the other because all these guys coach together. They're on the same staff together, and I don't know if you watched the little thing they had on ESPN with Mike McDaniel and talking about his ascension to the head coaching position. But he always felt he was in competition with those two guys. He looked around and those guys got had head coaching jobs and he didn't have one, and that's what he aspired to be. He's always aspired to be a head coach. And there was a time where he was out of the NFL. He has I think it was 585 days or something like that. He has he keeps a reminder of that about how long he was out of the NFL. But I just can't help to think that these guys are just competing against one another. Matt LaFleur, so he's not really thinking about his defense. Not really concerned about what kind of position he puts his defense in because he's worried about, man, San Francisco's doing this point wise, Miami's doing this point wise. This guy's only been on the job 2 years. I've been here for a certain period of time. We should be scoring more points than we're scoring. That's what I'm thinking in the back of my head that he's thinking is, man, I got to put up more points. So he's not really concerned about the consequences that he might be putting or the situations that he may be putting his defense in by putting the ball in harm's way the way that he has. Another thing is, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are probably the best that have ever played the game, and they make up for a lot of bad coaching. And we're seeing right now that maybe it was the Brady way, not so much the Patriots way. I mean, to get shellacked 34-0.
Right.
I mean, really? I don't think Mac Jones is that bad of a quarterback. I know Travis, I think, feels differently about him. I think he's a pretty decent little quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you what's going on over there right now. And then, you look at LaFleur right now. I think he felt he had an opportunity now to really run his offense because Aaron was there and he kind of had to cater to Aaron. Maybe even kind of, I don't know, maybe even take a back seat to Aaron. Maybe didn't feel real comfortable coaching Aaron hard. Now he can coach somebody hard and get the things done that he wants to get done. And, we see what's happening with the football team right now. So, I think it may take some time because Aaron did just leave to see what type of coach Matt LaFleur may be. But right now, he's looking pretty much the same as the previous Chicago Bear coach. It was, another offensive guru and, really couldn't get a whole lot done with his quarterback.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about Jimmy G was a definite downgrade to Derek Carr. Yeah, of course. I mean, what do you expect? The guy, McDaniel's coached him under Belichick, so that's pretty obvious, but I'll put it out there anyhow. I don't know where Jeremy's going with Hawaii. Los Angeles.
I think that's where he's saying that where Aaron Rodgers went. I don't know. I don't recall Hawaii, but I know he went to a community
I'm not
college.
sure. Yeah, no, Cal Berkeley is where he's talking about in terms of where he went there. So, so that's
he did start off at a community college. I know that, but I don't.
Then that's probably Hawaii, Los Angeles Community College, and Cal Berkeley. All right, thanks for clearing that up. Okay, well, onwards we go. The reality is, if there was a game you could have flexed, it would have been this. But my wife watched it, and I ended up sitting through it. And me, it's one of those situations where it's always good to see, future opponent, let alone what the Packers are. And the Lions have won the NFC North. I think it was the NFC Central many years ago. So we'll see how it plays out. All right. Well, you know what? This is a segment we've been bringing on. And I know Travis hasn't seen it before until now, where everybody can talk for like a minute or two about their game of the week, about which one stood out. Hey, you want to bring in college? Fine. I already tipped the one in college earlier to lead it off. So give me your game of the week, Travis.
I'm absolutely going to go the New Orleans Saints over the Patriots. Just anytime that I can watch a Hall of Fame football coach get blown out for the second week in a row. Oh, I got to take that, man. I mean, that only happens in Madden and in my dreams. So yes, this was a good one. This just a heck of a defensive game to play. Like you normally don't see this happen to a Bill Belichick led football team, and they beat the Patriots in a way that the Patriots normally would beat rookie quarterbacks on the other side. Like you see their quarterbacks just have fits. They just can't figure out the defense. They just can't move the ball. I mean, to the point where normally a lot of these rookie quarterbacks end up getting benched, and all these things are exactly what happened to the Patriots in this game. They end up benching Matt Jones. They end up having to go through all that turmoil behind it, and this seems like it falls into the lap of the GM Bill Belichick. Over the GM Bill Belichick has kind of done a disjustice to the coach Bill Belichick. Eventually, it got to that point where Tom can't cover those issues. The free agent decisions can't cover those issues of this long-term uh, injustice, front office injustice of what they've done to that roster overall. It's getting to that point where it's just time to blow it up.
Okay, George, game of the week.
San Francisco 42, Dallas 10. Are you kidding me? Dak Prescott, you've done it again, huh? Oh my God, he's got more lives than Felix the cat. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get from this guy anymore. I mean, he clearly shows now that he is not. He might be a leader. He might be liked by his players in the locker room. I get all that, but man, oh man, you can't lose a game like that, for crying out loud. If you want to be a title contender, Dallas, that was a stinker, and San Francisco is right at the top of the standings as well they should be with that great offense and great defense. But Dallas, I'm telling you, you let a lot of people down, at least those that are Cowboy fans that are still around in the US of A. You were one time America's team, but you ain't anymore.
Hey, Bo, I mean, when you got, I can tell you right now, even though I'll be the last one to talk, I mean, I wonder how many people are going to go over the ones I thought about when you have more people on, but you live with that situation where the game you think you're going to talk about, everybody on the panel is going to get to it one way or the other, but I don't care. All right, Bo, give me yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Niners and Cowboys also. Going into that, I knew Dak was going to be Dak and throw picks. Like that was a thing. I was talking to Mr. Yu before it, and was like, "Oh, he's thrown at least 2 in this game," and so kudos to Dak for overachieving. I like that, but the Cowboys are really, they were getting so much more hype than they should have because they hadn't beat anybody yet, right? They beat some bad teams. This is their first true contender of a team, and man, did they make them look silly. Now, that being said, the Niners are playing the best football in the league, hands down right now. So, I mean, you can't discount them too much, but, Cowboys did lose to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals, they stuck around for 3/4 of that game against the Niners. So, you got to start to worry a little bit about what these Cowboys really are.
Okay, Mr. Yu, I'm curious to see what you have.
I mean, at this point in time, my pick's been said like twice already. So it's like, what can I possibly add?
Join the club.
I'm not even going to try to flex here. It's the Niners and the Cowboys. I love it for purely personal reasons. I mean, because I listen to the Cowboy fans. Matter of fact, 2 doors down over here, tell me how they're going to be in the Super Bowl again. I've been living here for 8 years. Heard me say that for 8 years straight. It hasn't happened yet, bro. But
tell your neighbor. Yeah.
That's right. We them boys.
If I text him, he won't text me back. That's just how he operates. That's how he rolls. I gotta go to his house and knock on the door and say it hasn't happened yet. That's what I gotta do with him. But I mean, it was something because the Cowboys they always are in the picture before the season even starts. I don't know how that happens. They're already in the playoffs before they even get to week 1. I don't get how that happens. So I'm so glad that the Niners came in there and did what they did and dismantled them. I loved it. I loved it so much because nothing's going to change. Next week it'll be the same thing. We're going to Super Bowls. Nothing's going to change, but I was just glad to see that, we all still know that the Cowboys have to actually earn it. They can't just be given a Super Bowl championship. That's not how it works in the NFL. So glad to see that. San Francisco had 25 first downs. They were moving that ball all over the field at will. And the Cowboys defense, which was supposed to be a stuff of legends the past, 3 or 4 games against lesser opponents, my Giants included, and they couldn't do anything about it. It was a masterpiece. I enjoyed it.
I'm sure. Okay. And so did Stephen A. Smith because he gets to ride the Cowboys every time they look bad. All right, Coach.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
like
gonna,
him.
I'm gonna stay with the majority here, and my game was the San Fran and Dallas.
Oh
I
wow.
was anxious to see what San Francisco's offense was going to be able to do against Dallas's defense, and we found out, and it was a thing of beauty. I mean, they're just different, man. I mean, the way they block, the way they run the ball, it's not all scheme, it's attitude. I mean, it's just different. You see other teams running the same plays, but they're people movers up front. I mean, it's you know, it is old school. I mean, pin and pull trap. I mean, it was beautiful the way they were able to run the football. All right, the way they were able to exert their will and run the football against Dallas. Man, they just look to me. I think Philly's obviously really really good. Man, I think San Fran's going to be tough to beat.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, that wasn't my game, but I like how Coach his analysis of it. I mean, San Francisco, they give you a lot of smoke before the snap. They play the numbers, and this is what they do. They manipulate the numbers to be able to run the plays that they want to run. And I like that because you're being an aggressive offense as opposed to being passive, and so you're dictating what it is that you're going to do, and that's kind of how the coach that I played for, Ernie Zampese, was. We're going to dictate what we do. Their defense is not going to tell us what we're going to do. We're going to do what we want to do. But my game of the week, I had two actually. My game of the week was actually the Broncos and the Jets. And again, I'm looking at this coach again. He's the guru. He's a made man because he won a Super Bowl. So was it really Sean Payton or was it Drew Brees? He fall in a great situation with a once in a lifetime talent, and he was able to ride Drew Brees' coattails all those years and parlay it into this ungodly contract that he was able to receive from the Denver Broncos, the Penner Walton group. But I was glad for the Jets. Defensive coach, playing the close to the vest, not trying to put his team in a bad situation, allowing the quarterback to do the things that he's capable of doing, and they hung in there and they end up winning the game. And that's pretty embarrassing I think, for a guy like Sean Payton, given what he said at the beginning of the year about their offensive coordinator, who was the previous head coach there. So that's why that was my game of the week. My other game of the week, and not so much because of the game, because it got blown out. It was Warren De La Salle and Bloomfield Hills Brother Rice, where I went to school. We were there. I was in Michigan this past weekend because we had the 40th anniversary of our state championship team. And I happened to run into a couple guys that knew a certain someone that was actually roomed across from a certain someone at Central Michigan University and told me some very interesting stories about this individual that I cannot repeat on here. But it was a good, some guys had seen the show and they said, Coach Bono, he said, wait a minute, they had to look it up and they said, hey, I went to school with him. He was ask him about so and so and so and so. The people right across the hall. So got some interesting stories on Coach from his days at CMU.
Guilty as charged. I'm just glad we didn't have cell phones and camera phones back in those days, man.
Right, me too.
And to think both of you guys are on this show together every Tuesday night. What a beautiful thing, isn't it? All right, well, you know what? My game of the week is actually what Travis said, New Orleans 34-0 over New England. And the reason why I'm going that is when you double up here, the fact that the Dallas Cowboys blew out the Patriots, 38-3 the week before, and then you have another beatdown in successive weeks. It just goes to show you that Bill Belichick can be thankful that Tom Brady carried him to all those championships, because now we have found out that Bill Belichick is nothing more than an average or below average coach without a premium quarterback for sure. So I don't know. New England's got a lot of work to do. Now, I will say this much, though, and I want to go back to what you said, Mel, as far as Nathaniel Hackett. I am, where this league tends to become an overreaction league. Give Nathaniel Hackett time to work with Zach Wilson, for gosh sakes, before you annoy him and run him out of town. And that's what I'd like to see develop during the course of the year. And you don't know whether Aaron Rodgers is trying to give him a few pointers on the side, but give Zach and Hackett. And I'm also glad that the Jets had Hackett's back, with Sean Payton, because I still think with Sean continues to be vehement in his press conferences afterwards. Or he addressed it. Well, you know what? Address it again, okay? You're the one who brought it up in the first place. Keep your darn mouth shut, Sean. If a reporter asks you a question, well, I already talked about, well, maybe he wasn't there before when you brought it up. I don't know all those circumstances behind it, and I'm not going to get into that. But when a team has their coaches back, you're always good to know. But no, I mean, what's happened to the New England Patriots in successive weeks was something that happened back in the '70s when they weren't very good, and maybe the early '80s. But I mean, it's unbelievable. Bill Belichick isn't just. To me, what you end up wondering is in the future, how long will Robert Kraft keep him on? Is Don Shula's record safe after all if he continues to lose in this badly? Their quarterback Mac Jones took a hit last year when you had Joe Judge and Matt Patricia running their offense, and now you're bringing Bill O'Brien back, who I hope can fix Mac Jones. I really do, and they work together. But right now, I think the Patriots getting smoked by New Orleans is my game of the week. All right, last topic of the night. And obviously, thanks to Mr. Yu, we're going to have a new segment on every week. What guys can we fix? I actually like
I
it.
take
Really.
credit for this.
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, maybe we did have a little prelude, but that'll be on there. That'll be our new segment beginning next week if we didn't already unofficially start it now. So, anyways, the last topic of the night: the Jacksonville Jaguars win 2 straight in London back-to-back weeks. They're 6-5 all time, and they get Indy and Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania returns to Jacksonville. Well, we might as well go ahead and talk to Mr. Jacksonville, Travis Holmes. Give me your take briefly, Travis, okay, about Jacksonville's 2-week stay in London, and of course the game that you could potentially be covering over the weekend.
I mean, it was a great 2 game experience for the Jaguars. Obviously, they end up going 2-0 as the quote unquote home team slash technically away team in the second game. It was a weird way that worked out, mainly because of the gamesmanship of the Buffalo Bills. They ended up booking the same hotel as the Jaguars for the second week, so forcing the Jaguars to actually have to stay at a different hotel for the second week, which is just a weird thing. Like, if you're the Jaguars and you book that, how do you not book it for both weeks, and how do you even let them slide in to even do that? It was just that was a weird little piece. I didn't know how that worked out, and if it was purposeful, then good job, Buffalo. But no, the Jaguars, they went over there and they handled business. And I know everybody's always I've seen a few of the different takes around the media talking about how the Jaguars only won by 5 and the Bills had injuries and et cetera, et cetera. But if you watch that game, you will know that the Jaguars left 14 points on the field with those untimely red zone turnovers. Like, this they could have scored 40 this game. And that was the weirdest part about this that no one's talking about. Everybody's just saying that the Jaguars, squeaked it out, or the Buffalo had a rough day, or et cetera, or the Jaguars had an advantage from staying over there 2 weeks. Possibly, maybe. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how do you quantify that? The whole, where I'm staying at home versus the other teams traveling. The Buffalo had an option. They could have just came over after their last week's game, and they chose to leave on. They chose to fly out on Thursday, for whatever reason. That's coaching choices. I don't know what to tell you. So at the end of the day, the Jaguars won. They are now 3-2 and headed back home for a divisional game against the Kansas City Colts. Goodness gracious, Indianapolis Colts, which is an interesting decision in and of itself, because they chose to waive their bye week to later in the year and instead have a divisional game the week after London, which was a very interesting decision that I hope doesn't bite them in the butt.
All right, let's go to the chat room real quick. All right, Jeremy, time to start Cooper Rush in Dallas. Well, okay, if you say so. All right, it's 5-1 as a starter when he goes down to an injury, whatever. All right, yeah, we know that.
Everyone loves a backup quarterback.
Yeah, everybody does. Don't hold your breath, Jeremy. Not if you want to talk to Jerry Jones, okay? Although I have talked to him another lifetime ago at Coach Bono's favorite stadium, Sun Devil Stadium. I did have a chance to talk to him many years ago when we talked about the Thanksgiving game remaining in Detroit and Dallas. But we'll leave that for another show. All right, so George, let's talk about the Jaguars back-to-back
Well,
games.
that's a good thing. I mean, they're able to stay there. They're able just to me, that definitely is an advantage they had in the Buffalo game. That stuff I didn't know about, the hotels and kicking them out and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get involved with that, so I wasn't sure where that. But I'll take your word for that one, Travis. I didn't read all that, but no, they played a good game against Buffalo. They deserve to win. Buffalo just doesn't look. They're not clicking on all cylinders yet, and they have had injuries. So we'll see if they can bounce back and get them back into the AFC Championship game again. The other thing is, yeah, Indianapolis. That is a tough matchup. I mean, you're coming home, sure, but you also are playing one of your division rivals, like you said, Travis, and that's going to be a good game this Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. And yes, I like you. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't exercise their bye week coming off of the London trip. That surprised me.
Okay, we'll turn over to Bo.
Yeah, so I mean, them being able to be there for 2 weeks, obviously that helps them out. The Bills showing up late. You heard rumors of them being tired before the game even kicked off. So, that doesn't bode well for a team if they're already, talking about not feeling right before they get in there. But, it's great for the NFL. They keep talking about expanding. They know which charter team they're going to send over there. And then, coming back, playing the Colts, that's going to be an interesting game for sure because now Jonathan Taylor's back. We don't know if Richardson's going to play or not, but I don't know. That should be good. I'm looking forward to that game.
Hey, Bo, I heard that Richardson's going to be out for a little while, at least 2, 3, 4 weeks is what I heard.
Okay, well, I mean, then you got Minshew, right? And
right.
He finds a way to win. He is our current era of Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? He's exciting. He's going to win you some games. He's going to lose you some games, but they're going to be entertaining to watch.
Well, let me tell you, I was actually covering the draft for the Jaguars when they drafted him, and it was pretty fun to watch everybody get excited about this guy. So, all right, Mr. Yu, you're nodding your head. What are you nodding and smiling about?
Yeah,
I gotta hear this
it's a me and Bo Minshew thing. He thinks Minshew's the second coming of somebody. No,
Fitzpatrick.
This is going to come crashing down. You just watch. This is going to come crashing down. You're not going to like how it looks. It's going to be awful. But as far as the Jags and the Bills game, I think I walked away with seeing two teams that have identity crisis. When we had our preseason power ranking, all the shows we did, all the different podcasts, Jags and the Bills are probably in everybody's top 5. Offense and defense. We're not seeing that. Jacksonville got beat by Houston by 20, and I think it's in the points on the field in that game too. And then they beat a team favored by 5.5. Buffalo gets beat by the Jets without Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson. They beat the high-powered Dolphins that they were favored to beat them, but a lot of people had their doubts. And lose to the Jags, no real defense to show for it out here. It's like a tale of two different teams. On the road, they're one way, and at home they're another. And it's like, you gotta be consistent. You can't just win all your games at home because that's like what's up, like half. you can't win all your games at home and throw away all your your road games and think you're gonna make it to the playoffs. It's not what's gonna happen. So these two teams right here are really indicative of somebody who has an identity. They don't know who they are. One day they have a strong defense, they look like monsters out there. The next day the defense is tepid. It's kind of hard to kind of get a feel of who they are. So that was my takeaway from this game. I don't know who these two guys really actually are, and that bit doesn't bode well for the future. You can't tell. You don't have an identity. One game past something. Just. Yeah.
I will turn it over to Coach.
Well, I'm going to hit on a couple things here. First of all, like when it comes to the scheduling, the games overseas we're going to see that continue to expand before they go away. I think with the 17 game schedule, I think we're going to get to the point where everybody's going to have 8 home games, 8 away games, and everybody's going to play a neutral site game. And there'll be 16 games a year over in Europe. To Travis's point, the school of thought with traveling over there is you either go early and you let everybody adjust to the time, or you go late and you try to stay on your same try to stay on East Coast time, with your schedule, because obviously we're watching that game at 10 o'clock in the morning here, but it's much later in the afternoon there. The ability to stay there for a whole week or longer than a week, like Jackson, it's absolutely 100%, 100%. That's a huge advantage for the Jaguars. Just going in. I mean, the biggest things that the three major concerns you have for your team going over there is, number one, body clock. Number two, the field, and it seems like they've done a better job over there, but those stadiums, they're set up for soccer. That grass is grown differently. It's cut differently. It's a different, they want that those players, you watch them slide across that grass when they play soccer. They have to, they have to tweak it to get it close to be able to play football on it. That's a big concern. And then, it hasn't been lately, but when teams first started going over there, everybody was coming back complaining about the food. It was just different. So I just think it was a big advantage for the Jags to be able to play them. Especially in the second week, it's good scheduling. It'll be interesting to see how they handle, the body clock coming back now to, home, playing a team that's hungry, that's been playing hard, in a divisional game at home. So it'd be an interesting matchup. I'm anxious to see it unfold.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, Coach makes a great point about the travel and about the food. I played overseas a couple times, and the food is different. I mean, it doesn't even look the same. I'm like, what is this, monkey shoulders? I mean, what are we eating here? The last day I was about to pass out. We were finally on our way home, and they served some fried chicken. I knew what that looked like, and I said, boy, I mean, I ate so much fried chicken, man, I can't even tell you. But most of the days, I really didn't eat other than fruit and things of that nature, because I didn't know what it was that they were feeding me. It didn't look like anything I was accustomed to. So that is a big thing. And the travel is tough. I mean, it might be better now, but it was tough. I mean, especially coming from LA, going out that way. Even when we went to Japan, I mean, that's a long flight, and they pack a whole lot of folks in there. They don't necessarily try to make it comfortable for the players either. At least they didn't. The Rams didn't, and we didn't have the planes that had with the first class cabins and stuff like that where you could lay back and relax. They might be flying 747s over there now, but we didn't fly. We were flying like a DC-10 or something like that, and it wasn't very comfortable. They made the younger guys, we had to sit 5 across, while the veterans, they stretched out across 5 seats and laid down and slept. So it was tough, made for tough travels. But I this game, obviously the quarterback is hurt in Indianapolis. He's going to be out for a little while with that shoulder injury. Gardner Minshew, we know he's very capable. That's a luxury that they have, a guy who can come in there and keep things together for 4 or 5 games. Jacksonville, I was really kind of thought, I think Buffalo is probably kicking themselves with this opportunity. I mean, Jacksonville is okay, but I don't think they're ready to compete for anything. Although they played pretty well last year, and got into the playoffs, and gave Kansas City everything that they could handle in the playoffs. But I think it'll be a good game. But coming back home, now their body clocks have to change. Indianapolis has been here. They're already acclimated to this time zone, so we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to this game, and also looking forward to Jonathan Taylor getting an opportunity to get out there and play with his new contract, especially since he's on my fantasy team.
All right.
Backup Jonathan Taylor.
Well, the only thing I'll say to this thing is I'm not surprised the Jaguars did not take a bye this week, because they were in London for 2 weeks anyhow. So had they have not been there 2 weeks in a row, maybe they exercised the bye. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Take it for whatever it's worth. But the intriguing part about this week is Minshew Mania back in Jacksonville. Will Gardner Minshew be able to do what Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan weren't able to do and end up the Colts winning in Jacksonville? I've seen a couple of quarterbacks get run out of there because of bad performances. Travis knows what I'm talking about. But to think, if Carson Wentz is the one that winds up beating the Jacksonville Jaguars there, then oh my goodness, I can only imagine.
Oh,
But
Minshew is Jeremy Lin, man. That's not happening.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I don't know. So as far as I'm concerned, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, I'm sure a bunch of other quarterbacks have lost there. But if Gardner Minshew is the one that beats the Jaguars over Trevor Lawrence, I can tell you right now that will be a topic, and be ready to return here, Travis, to talk about it. Mark my word. Okay, you will. So, but back to the travel, I don't think it's. I have no issue with the Jaguars not taking a bye, especially with the divisional opponent or not. We'll see how it plays out. TBD. This could be a topic next week to go along with what franchise what can we fix today? Because I know I'm in Mr. Yu's head because he's in my head now. So meanwhile, we've covered it pretty well tonight. We have our lucky seven. I don't know. I like this dynamic where we have seven people on talking about some topics. Maybe I'll tweak it with one less topic. We'll see how it plays out. But I feel pretty good about the end result. So, with that said, I'll give our information out there, let everybody know. Immediately after Inside the Pigskin, we have 108 Stitches baseball talk waiting behind us. So, with that said, Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com, which you'll also be able to find my new book on there, which I'll get to in a moment. Twitter, X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. And once again, my new media book out there is Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. With that said, all right, we'll go around the horn here. Travis Holmes, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find you can find me here every week. Also, you can find me on the Duval Dive Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, as you can see in the background, every Friday morning at 11 a.m. And you can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com.
Okay, we'll turn over to George.
Scott's got a book. I got a book. Hey, we're all hawking books here. Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air is the name of my book, and it covers football, basketball, hockey. And on a sad note, we send our condolences to great Bernie Smilebets. So sad your wife died, and Bernie, our thoughts are with you, my man. So sad. We're with you, buddy. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com and George Icorn on LinkedIn as well. You can find me on 108 Stitches, Inside the Pigskin, the Sports Exchange, Pundits Pundit, and read me at the Motor City Tribune, where you'll find a link to purchase the book at. Thank you.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Bo.
All right. Well, no book, but you can find me on your screen right here every Tuesday. And, of course, on my channel, Football Talk, and on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo.
Okay, Mr. Yu.
I wrote a book 7 years ago. Does that count?
Sure.
I'm all over all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Twitter. And of course, you can follow all of our audio podcasts where you get your podcast from: Pandora, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. And our YouTube channel at They Call Me Mr. Yu, Mistayu. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thanks again, Scott, for allowing me to be on your show, man.
Oh, we enjoy it. In fact, I like the dynamic duo of Mr. Yu and Bo. That's one of the reasons why we've taken your Monday and turned it into a Tuesday night primetime show. So I'm really delighted. I'm glad you guys are both on every week. Excuse me. Well, okay. Bless you to you too out there, everybody. But anyways, let's turn it over to Coach Bono, who has the easiest way to get a hold of him.
Well, you can find me right here on LinkedIn. Outside of that, I'm not in any social media. This Friday, I don't think I'm going to make it to a high school game, but I will be in the owner's suite on Sunday, Trav. So I'm excited about that. And, Scott, always a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me. And we didn't mention that we lost a Hall of Famer this week in Dick Butkus. So condolences out to him, his family. And, yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing it up. That's why everybody gets the last word. People like you, okay, bring up the because I think I mentioned on one or two shows, but no, not this one. But I'm glad you brought it up, Coach. Thanks so much. And every once in a while, Coach and Mel come on No Limits, where I'll bring Jennifer Lee Cobb on as well. And before I turn over to Mel, I want to let everybody know that's a very good show. Jennifer works really hard to find a gateway to a cure. Was her what she's got going on for Parkinson's disease. So let everybody know that what we coach Bono's offered to come on. Mel's is a hit on there, and I'll be bringing more and more people on from time to time. So, all right, Mel, go ahead.
I can be found on all the social media, at Melfar Jr., Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And you can follow what we have going on for youth at melfar.org. And I just wanted to send out my condolences to a friend of mine's family. He just passed away a day before his 54th birthday. A good buddy of mine up there in Detroit. His name is Champ. Just want to send my condolences out to his family, to his girls, to his daughters. And, just ask for everybody to pray for his family and to give them strength during this extremely difficult time.
Well, our prayers are definitely with them. And as I talked about at the top of the broadcast, our prayers are everything going on with Israel. We stand behind Israel, and there is no excuse or tolerance for any terrorism of any kind. That to me is unfortunate, and I hate to see a lot of that. So, Ralph Williams, how you doing tonight? Glad to have you in the program as well, along with everybody else. And if we're going to hand out condolences, let's talk about some I recently read here today. Terry Dissinger and Brendan Malone also passed away. I worked with Brendan Malone a long time ago when I was working with the Pistons. So, we'll get those condolences out later. But stay strong, Israel. You have a whole world rooting for you, and I hope and pray that the casualties are minimal for sure. So I want to thank everybody for being on here tonight, chat room, and all the great comments that we had. So once again, on behalf of the lucky seven, I don't know, any seven analogy that sounds good is what this crew is. And after tonight, I have a feeling I may be resorting to it more because I really like a lot of what I saw tonight. So with that said, on behalf of Travis Holmes, George Eichhorn, Bo from Football Talk at Bo, Mr. Yu, Coach Bono, and Mel Farr Jr., my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. And of course, now Candy Evans says a magnificent 7. There you go. She got it. Okay. And we will catch you next Tuesday night. Have a great week, everybody. And I want to thank my crew for giving their best effort because they were awesome, baby, as Dick Vitale would say. Good night, everybody.